I don't want to be, don't manipulate me.
And Shannon himself is dropping receipts, and I gotta say, this doesn't look good for his accuser at all.
If you say that one more time, I'm gonna choke out of you when I see you.
And she says that she alleges that was brutal, like it was very it was aggressive.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do.
According to the lawsuit, the anonymous woman says it began as a consensual relationship when she was 20 years old.
She was the one name no one expected to hear. Not after all this time. Not now. But suddenly, just as Shannon Sharpe's world is cracking under the weight of a $50 million lawsuit, his ex-fiancée is back in the spotlight.
He's now in a very serious predicament because a young woman has come forward.
And she's not staying quiet anymore. Her message? Subtle, but sharp. Her timing? Let's just say the internet is buzzing with theories. Why now, of all moments, does she choose to reappear?
She's alleging that she was and she was threatened by Shannon Sharpe during what she is describing as a quote-unquote rocky consensual relationship.
Some say it's coincidence, others think it's strategy, but either way, it's raising more questions than answers. According to online chatter, the woman who once wore Sharpe's ring has posted a series of cryptic comments that fans claim are anything but random. Allegedly, one post referenced a man who built a brand on lies, while another hinted at being warned not to speak.
Now, this woman is alleging that Shannon Sharpe her multiple times over the course of a 2-year relationship. The relationship that they had was...
Are these about Shannon? She never says his name. But the timing, the tone, it's hard not to wonder, especially as legal pressure mounts and public opinion grows more divided by the day. Sources close to the situation suggest she may have already been approached by attorneys, though nothing has been confirmed. And here's where it gets messy. This isn't someone from a fling or a forgotten chapter. This is the woman who stood beside Sharpe at red carpet events, shared his home, and, according to insiders, knew details about his private life that few others ever did.
And rumors are now swirling that he's going to be fired from his job at ESPN, not because of this incident, but because of multiple incidents over the last year.
Rumor has it their split wasn't as peaceful as they made it seem, and that she walked away with more than just memories. Allegedly, she held on to certain texts, certain recordings, pieces that might now come into play. But the bigger mystery? Why wait until now to speak? Some speculate she felt silenced. Others think she's trying to protect herself before someone else tells her story first. Whatever the reason, she's not hiding anymore. And that silence? It's officially shattered. It wasn't just what she said, it was what she didn't say.
ESPN is owned by Disney. So they pay big, but they expect big too.
In a post that's since been archived, Sharpe's ex-fiancée allegedly shared a cryptic message about people who wear loyalty like a mask. That line alone sent fans into a decoding frenzy. Was it a subtweet, a warning, or maybe a delayed response to something she kept bottled up for too long? Comment sections exploded, Reddit threads lit up, and while her identity remains technically protected for now, her message was loud enough to echo across the entire internet, especially given what she might know. Because let's be honest, there's no such thing as perfect silence in celebrity breakups.
Shannon Sharpe's willingness to pay is not an admission of anything that he did wrong. It was a willingness to pay for the protection of his family and himself.
And when timing aligns this closely with a $50 million lawsuit, people start connecting dots. Allegedly, this ex wasn't just a spectator. According to fan speculation and unconfirmed claims on gossip forums, she may have witnessed moments of Sharpe's behavior that mirror elements in Jane Doe's lawsuit. No confirmation, no accusations, but the possibility has captivated everyone. And what's more, some are now wondering if her silence over the years wasn't a choice, but a condition. Could there have been NDAs involved? Were there conversations we'll never hear? If there's even a chance she was encouraged to stay quiet, then her re-emergence now suggests something has changed behind the scenes. Something big, and we can't ignore the ripple effect.
He tells her and threatens her allegedly to say that like he will, she ever does that again. But the part of it, she says that she was allegedly anally twice and that it was very, very brutal.
Sharpe has long crafted an image of control, whether on the field, behind a mic, or in the luxury settings he often flaunted. But the lawsuit's vivid accusations, from emotional manipulation to alleged physical intimidation, clash violently with that image. And now, as someone from his past steps forward in her own way, the public perception is wobbling. Sharpe's supporters insist this is all coordinated slander, but critics? They're calling it a pattern. One voice breaks the silence, and suddenly, every quiet moment in Sharpe's timeline feels worth re-examining. Back when they were still together, Sharpe made her part of his world. Courtside seats, guest appearances, cameos in behind-the-scenes podcast content, but those clips have quietly vanished.
The complaint seeks more than $50 million in damages. Sharpe fired back, posting alleged texts from the woman in the lawsuit on social media. One of them reads, "I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're effing me."
Fans who scrolled through his older posts noticed something strange. Entire stretches of shared moments seem to have been scrubbed from social media. Some claim this cleanup happened months ago. Others insist it started just days before the lawsuit became public. Either way, it feels intentional, and it's only fueling suspicion. What was he trying to hide? And more importantly, who told him it was time to clean house? Speculation is rampant. Some believe his ex had been holding on to receipts the whole time. Messages, voicemails, even private recordings that could shift the tone of this entire case. None of it's confirmed, of course, but the possibility, it's enough to spark a wave of online theories. Allegedly, she once confided in a friend about things that would ruin him if they got out. That friend hasn't spoken publicly.
Sharpe even figured out how to get into Doe's apartment complex without her permission.
But now, users on TikTok and X claim she's been deleting old replies that once showed her supporting their relationship. Suspicious timing, or just self-protection? And then there's the podcast episode. You know the one, the now viral Club Shay Shay interview with Cat Williams. Sharpe was in control that day, calm, unshaken, until Williams hinted at people who project one persona on camera and a much darker one behind closed doors. At the time, it read like a jab at someone else entirely. But in hindsight, some viewers are replaying the moment with fresh ears. Was Cat throwing subtle shade? Was he warning Sharpe? Fans are now combing through every guest interaction for clues, because when an ex-fiancé reappears just as old footage resurfaces and legal filings drop like grenades, nothing feels random anymore. Here's what has fans whispering behind the scenes. Was she warned to keep quiet? Not just by lawyers or PR reps, but by Sharpe himself? One online rumor claims she once received a "shut it down" message after liking a post that hinted at relationship toxicity.
In this case, she's saying this is a consensual relationship. We had a lot of consensual, and on these 2 or 3 separate occasions, it just so happens that it wasn't consensual.
Another Reddit thread alleges that she was seen having a heated phone call in a Brentwood parking lot the week the Instagram Live incident blew up. None of this is verified, but when a person who once walked hand in hand with a public figure starts behaving like they've got something to lose, people notice and people talk. Some fans are now speculating whether her silence over the years wasn't protection, it was self-preservation. Sources close to her circle have allegedly told gossip blogs that she tried to move on quietly, but felt like she was still being watched. Those claims are unconfirmed, and we don't know who these sources are. But the narrative they're pushing, it's compelling. The idea that behind the luxury lifestyle and public, Smiles was a power imbalance no one dared to name. Until now. And that power imbalance? It's at the center of the lawsuit filed by Jane Doe. Her account describes a relationship that began consensually, but shifted, allegedly, into manipulation and emotional pressure. The kind of pressure that leaves a person second-guessing their own memory. The kind that silences you, not with threats, but with influence. A familiar story, repeated too often in headlines involving celebrities and younger partners. And now, as the plaintiff's accusations echo louder across the internet, Sharpe's ex is being recast, not just as a bystander, but as a possible missing puzzle piece.
It's going to be a lot difficult to prove it, because it begs the question, if it happened one time in October of 2024, how did it then happen again in January of 2024?
She hasn't claimed to be a victim. She hasn't given an interview. But in today's media climate, just being connected to the storm can pull you into it, whether she wants to be or not. What makes this even murkier is the reaction from Sharpe's inner circle, or rather, the lack of one. Usually, when a public figure faces serious allegations, longtime friends and collaborators rush to issue character statements. But this time, crickets. A few vague praying for peace posts. Some lighthearted retweets to drown out the noise, but no direct offenses, no loud proclamations of, "I know this man." It's been quiet, and quiet in Hollywood almost always means calculated. Some insiders suspect Sharpe's team is trying to prevent more public missteps. Others say they're bracing for something else to drop, and that something else might be coming from someone even closer than his ex. Rumor has it that a former employee, a personal assistant who allegedly worked with Sharpe during the timeline in question, has been approached by attorneys. No official confirmation, no names, but gossip outlets claim this assistant once left the job under sudden hush-hush conditions. Allegedly, there was tension. One source claims she was offered a settlement. Another says she be left after seeing too much. Again, nothing proven, but these whispers, they're building pressure. And if even one of these people goes on record, the narrative could shift overnight.
This is his statement that he did not mean it. It was in the heat of the moment, in the middle of an argument.
Meanwhile, ESPN finds itself in the worst position possible, caught between ratings and responsibility. Sharpe hasn't been suspended. He's still showing up, still delivering fiery debates like nothing's changed. But viewers aren't just watching the show anymore. They're watching him, his tone, his body language, every eyebrow raise, every breath. People are dissecting it all, wondering if the confident TV titan is cracking beneath the surface. And behind the scenes, reports of emergency meetings, legal consultations, and brand safety reviews have already leaked. No one said it out loud, but one wrong headline could mean losing millions in ad deals. Not just for Sharpe, but for the network too. And with an ex-fiancée in the wings, potentially holding stories no one's heard yet, that risk feels more real by the hour. One thing's becoming crystal clear. This isn't just about a lawsuit anymore. It's about a reputation, a legacy, and a carefully built media empire now balancing on a razor's edge. Sharpe's move to ESPN was supposed to be his next big chapter. Bigger platform, bigger guests, bigger spotlight. But instead of celebrating podcast milestones, the headlines now read like cautionary tales. And with each passing day, the silence from powerful friends gets louder. Where are the athletes he once mentored? The execs he toasted with at industry galas? The brand partners who praised him for his authenticity? They're not stepping up, not publicly.
That's right, Ellison. Sharpe's attorney says his client's accuser is making, quote, a maliciously false claim, and Sharpe's attorney is promising a lawsuit to, quote, hold her accountable.
Some fans think they're waiting for the dust to settle. Others, they suspect something darker. That maybe, just maybe, this lawsuit isn't the first time concerns were raised behind closed doors. Allegedly, whispers about Sharpe's temper have followed him for years, especially around production deadlines and off-camera moments. No formal complaints, nothing on record, but several anonymous accounts have popped up on social media claiming they aren't surprised by what's being alleged. One former podcast guest even reposted a vague quote about charisma hiding chaos, which quickly sparked a storm of interpretations. And then there's the ex-fiancée's possible role in all of this. Some speculate she could be the linchpin, not just a witness but a mirror, someone who lived the version of Sharpe the public never saw. Her resurfacing might not have been timed for drama, but it's having that effect. In fact, one theory spreading fast is that she didn't want to speak at all, that she was approached by Jane Doe's legal team for corroboration and had no choice but to acknowledge what she knew. If that's true, it changes everything. Because if even one piece of her story aligns with the lawsuit's claims, it doesn't matter if she testifies or not. The court of public opinion will already have its verdict. What's happening to Shannon Sharpe right now isn't just a legal battle. It's a full-blown cultural referendum. Because it's not just about what one man allegedly did. It's about what his fame allowed him to do unchecked, and whether the rules ever applied to him the same way they apply to everyone else. That's the conversation people are having. In group chats, on talk radio, in locker rooms. Not just, did he do it? But how many people looked away before someone finally said something? And in the center of that conversation, the woman who used to be at his side. Allegedly, she was there. During some of the time frames now under scrutiny. She was part of his daily routine, a fixture in his inner world.
Shannon Sharpe is facing a new lawsuit accused of SA and battery and engaging in intentional infliction of emotional distress.
And now, as people revisit their old photos, their red carpet appearances, their cozy podcast banter, they're asking, what did she see and why didn't we? Her return to the narrative has turned speculation into obsession, especially with rumors surfacing that private DMs between her and another media figure might soon be leaked. If true, they could offer insight into what she endured and why she vanished. Meanwhile, other voices are entering the conversation. Advocates, critics, former players. Everyone has a take, and every take has consequences. One viral thread accused sports media of protecting its own, citing how fast they rally behind legends, until the backlash is too loud to ignore. Another post questioned why male-dominated spaces often label women unstable or dramatic when they speak up about uncomfortable truths. The plaintiff's legal team hasn't commented on any of this noise, but make no mistake, they're watching it, because public sentiment shapes court strategy. And right now, the tide is unpredictable. Even if nothing more comes out, even if Sharpe walks away legally unscathed, he may still be changed forever. In a world where reputation is currency, this lawsuit has already cost him something money can't buy back. And here's where things get especially twisted, because the contrast is jarring. On air, Shannon Sharpe hasn't flinched. Not once. He's still suiting up, throwing shade, breaking down game film with that same electric charisma. But off camera, insiders are painting a very different picture. According to one studio source, Sharpe has allegedly been more isolated in recent weeks, opting for solo prep, skipping team dinners, keeping his phone face down during shoots. Some staffers think he's just focused. Others whisper he's trying not to unravel. And yet, the public is watching every move like it's a chess match.
If it happened at your apartment, as she's alleging, who did you tell? Did you speak to the apartment landowners? Did you call 911? Did you go to the hospital? So there's a concern about provability.
That Instagram live clip from last year, the one where audio of an alleged intimate encounter was accidentally broadcast, was already strange. But now, it feels like a clue. In the complaint, Jane Doe allegedly describes that very incident as a betrayal. Proof, she says, of just how little regard she felt he had for privacy or boundaries. And suddenly, what once seemed like a tech blunder becomes something darker, something that might align with the lawsuit's claims. Which brings us back to the ex-fiancée. Because if she witnessed fallout from that IG live moment, if she warned him to take it down, if she expressed concern, and he dismissed her, that could matter. Not in court, maybe, but in the public's mind, that's enough. And rumor has it, she wasn't the only one who raised red flags. There's speculation that at least one other woman from a past situationship has been quietly reaching out to legal contacts, testing the waters. No lawsuit yet, no statement. But whispers have a way of growing louder, especially when the spotlight's this hot. The deeper this goes, the harder it becomes to separate what's public from what's personal. And that's exactly the problem. Because when your brand is built on transparency, loyalty, and tough love, any crack in that image becomes a canyon. It's not just Sharpe under fire now, it's the entire idea of what we let fame excuse. Because, this case, it's become a mirror. A messy, uncomfortable reflection of how we react when our favorite personalities are suddenly cast in a different light. For years, Shannon Sharpe was the underdog who made it. From rural Georgia to the NFL Hall of Fame, then into our homes every morning with blazing takes and sharp suits. He told the world he earned it all through grit, through truth. But now that same truth is under siege. From a woman he once loved, from another who claims he destroyed her peace.
He accidentally went onto Instagram Live and broadcast himself in the middle of having some relations with a woman.
And from a public that's no longer content to just watch from the sidelines. And the weight of it all? It's showing. According to people close to him, Sharpe's mood has shifted. Allegedly, even his family has started to feel the toll, especially his brother Sterling, who stayed out of the spotlight for years. One source described recent conversations as dark and defensive, with Sharpe allegedly torn between anger and disbelief. His legal team is reportedly gearing up for a drawn-out war, filing protective orders and pushing back hard against what they're calling a media smear campaign. But even if they win the court of law, can they win the court of public perception? That's the part no one controls. Because fans, followers, viewers, they're not waiting for verdicts. They're reacting to vibes, to patterns, to feelings. And when those feelings shift, careers collapse. Sponsors go quiet, projects stall, texts get leaked. And even if none of it is ever proven in court, the damage may already be done. Especially when someone this close, like a former fiancé, enters the conversation. Not with accusations, but with presence. Her silence was its own story. But her return? That's a headline all by itself. So where does that leave us? A woman who once wore his ring has re-emerged with a message that doesn't shout, but shakes. Another woman has filed a lawsuit so massive it could redefine Sharpe's public legacy overnight. And in the space between those two stories, the internet has done what it does best. Fill in the blanks, connect dots, spin theories, and sometimes speak truths that PR teams would rather stay buried. But here's the hardest part to sit with. What if this isn't about Shannon Sharpe at all? What if this is about power? The kind that lets some people charm their way past boundaries, silence dissent with favors, and rewrite relationships as brand extensions. The kind of power that makes victims doubt their own memories. That rewards silence and punishes transparency. Because no matter how this plays out in court, the ripple effect is already here. Women are watching, men are listening, networks are calculating, and fans, they're rethinking every like they ever gave. Sharpe has said very little publicly. His team insists he'll be vindicated, that the allegations are false, exaggerated, even weaponized. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But when someone this close to him, someone who shared years of his life, his home, his headlines, starts dropping breadcrumbs just as the house catches fire, that silence feels less like peace and more like pressure building behind a dam. And the internet? It's listening. So what do you think? Is Sharpe the victim of a perfectly timed takedown? Or has the truth finally caught up to him? Was his ex trying to protect herself? Or is she part of something bigger? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep watching because the next video on your screen is waiting. And trust me, you won't believe what happens next.